The nebula called the Veil of Sorrows bled colors no human language could properly name. Crimson gas clouds twisted through veins of violet and gold, hiding within their impossible beauty a secret that had kept 47,000 human beings alive for 112 years. At the heart of that hidden cradle drifted Haven Station. Captain Alara Vance stood at the observation deck's curved window, her reflection a ghost superimposed over the swirling cosmos. At 43 years old, she had known no other home. She was born here, in the sterile warmth of Section 7's medical bay, during the Exodus year 17. Her mother had been a terraforming engineer. Her father had died fighting off a pirate raid when she was 12. The galaxy beyond, the nebula wanted them dead. Everyone knew the stories passed down from the first generation, the ones who had fled Earth during the Great Burning. The galaxy was a graveyard. Alien empires had risen and fallen for billions of years, and something at the center of it all had decided that intelligence was a disease. The hunters, the refugees called them, machines older than stars, programmed to sterilize any civilization that reached for the heavens. Humanity had barely touched their own moon before the hunters noticed. "Captain," Lieutenant Marcus Webb's voice crackled through her earpiece. "You need to see this." Alara's hand moved automatically to the rail beside her. "Report." "Long-range scanner, passive array. We're picking up a distress signal. It's close, too close." Her blood chilled. The nebula was supposed to mask everything, their heat signatures, their communications, even their gravitational footprint. They had spent decades perfecting the camouflage. Nothing should be this close without them knowing. How close? 400,000 kilometers, on the edge of the Veil's outer curtain. Alara was already moving, her boots clicking against the metal floor in a rhythm she'd walked 10,000 times. The corridors of Haven Station were tight, utilitarian, patched with welded repairs and hand-painted murals from children who had grown up never seeing a real sky. She passed the memorial wall, 342 names of those lost to accidents, disease, and one containment breach that had nearly ended everything 20 years ago. The command center hummed with suppressed tension. 6 officers worked at their consoles, and every single one of them had the same pale expression. Webb pointed to the holographic display. "Signals repeating. Same pattern every 40 seconds. We've never seen anything like it." Alara studied the data. The source was small, a vessel maybe 1/5 the size of their smallest patrol ship. Its power signature was erratic, fading like a heart struggling to beat. "Spectral analysis?" she asked. Science Officer Myra Chen shook her head. "Not human, not anything in our archives, but Captain," she hesitated. "The encryption protocol, it's asymmetrical, layered, like someone deliberately made it easy to decode while keeping the content hidden from something else. A trap, or a cry for help from another species hiding just like them." "They'll breach the nebula in 6 hours," Webb said. "If we do nothing, they'll either crash into the gas wall or they're drawing whatever chased them right to our door." Alara stared at the pulsing signal. Somewhere out there, lives were ending. She had spent her entire existence protecting her people by doing nothing, seeing nothing, saving nothing beyond these walls. But her mother had also told her stories, not just of the burning, but of Earth, of oceans and forests and cities where billions of strangers had somehow lived together. Of compassion. "Prepare a rescue team," Alara said quietly, "and power up the stealth shroud. If this goes wrong, I want Haven gone from the records before they can blink." Webb's jaw tightened. "Captain, if we break cover." "If we don't," she interrupted, "then we've already become the thing we're hiding from." The signal pulsed again, desperate, dying. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the veil, something ancient and patient stirred. The salvage operation took 11 hours. Alara's shuttle, the last gasp, cut through the nebula's outer edges like a needle through silk. Beside her, Chief Engineer Tomas Reyes muttered prayers to a god he claimed not to believe in. Behind them, 4 Marines in vacuum-rated armor checked their weapons for the 5th time. The alien vessel hung in the void like a wounded animal. Its design was organic, curving ribs of some iridescent material that pulsed with faint bioluminescence, now flickering like a dying star. The hull had been torn open along 3 seams, and debris vented in lazy spirals. No active weapons, no escape pods launched. "Life signs?" Ilara asked. "One," Myra said from Haven. "Weak, central compartment." They docked through a rupture that looked less like an airlock and more like a wound. The interior smelled of ozone, copper, and something sweet, a biological tang that clung to the back of the throat. Gravity was off, and Ilara floated through corridors lined with what might have been artwork or might have been internal organs. Then she found him. The alien was small by human standards, maybe 5 feet if stretched, with 4 limbs arranged in a configuration that suggested speed rather than strength. His skin was the color of dying embers, mottled with burns and scar tissue. 2 large eyes, black as the void between stars, stared at her from a face that somehow conveyed exhaustion and terror in equal measure. "Can you understand me?" Ilara asked. The alien's mandibles twitched. Then, through a translator unit embedded in his chest, cracked but still glowing, a voice emerged, hoarse, broken. Humanity, not a question, a statement of wonder. The rumors were true. The small, violent species from the 3rd spiral arm. They said you all died in the burning. "Almost," Ilara said. "Who's chasing you?" The alien tried to rise and failed. His lower limbs were twisted, shattered by whatever had torn through his ship. "The same ones who burned your world, the hunters, they found our sanctuary. They found all of them. The veil is not hidden. It is only patient." Ilara's blood turned to ice water. "What do you mean?" "My name is Kalin of the Xylos Confluence. We have been running for 12 generations, and I am not here by accident." His black eyes fixed on hers with terrible intensity. "I was sent to find you, to warn you. The hunters know something lives in the veil. They have always known. They were simply waiting." Behind them, through the torn hull of the alien vessel, Ilara saw the nebula's beautiful colors swirling in their eternal dance. Not a sanctuary, a cage. And the door had just been opened. "Captain," Webb's voice crackled, strained. "We've got a problem. Passive sensors just picked up a shadow moving through the outer gas layer. It's big, and it's not natural." "How long until it reaches Haven's position?" "At current speed, 48 hours, maybe less." Kalin grabbed her wrist with surprising strength. "You cannot fight them. No one can. The only survival is to run, to hide deeper, to become so small that even the darkness forgets you exist." Ilara looked at the alien, this messenger of doom who had crossed light years to deliver a death sentence. Then she looked back at her shuttle, at the faces of her crew, at the 4 Marines who were already calculating firing solutions against an enemy they couldn't see. "Reyes," she said quietly, "get him on board, stabilize him." "And then, Captain." She turned back toward the shuttle's cockpit, toward the home she had spent her entire life protecting. "And then we stop running." Kalin's translator crackled. "You don't understand. The hunters have exterminated 4,000 species. They cannot be. 4,000 species didn't grow up on a planet that tried to kill them every single day." Ilara cut him off. 4,000 species didn't look at a universe that wanted them dead and decide to build something beautiful anyway. She activated the shuttle's engines. "Welcome to humanity, Kalin. We're the ones who punch back." Part 3, Echoes of Extinction. The emergency council meeting lasted 4 hours and solved nothing. Haven's civilian leadership, a rotating committee of engineers, teachers, and one elderly botanist named Dr. Aris Thorne who remembered Earth, dissolved into screaming matches within the first 30 minutes. Half wanted to abandon the station immediately. The other half refused to believe Kalin's warning at all. Ilara sat at the head of the table, watching her species tear itself apart in real time. "You're asking us to trust an alien," Counselor Mei-Lin said, her voice sharp as a blade. "An alien who conveniently shows up right before annihilation. This is a trick, a hunter proxy." Kalin, suspended in a medical cradle beside the table, lowered his head. His injuries were severe: 3 cracked ribs, internal bleeding, and neurological damage that made his limbs tremble uncontrollably. Haven's doctors had done what they could, but Xylo's biology was alien in ways their textbooks never anticipated. "Why would I lie?" Kalin asked quietly. "I have no weapons, no fleet, no planet left to save. My people are scattered across 20 systems, each one burning. I came here because the stories said humanity was different." "What stories?" Ilara asked. Kalin's black eyes found hers. "The old ones. From before the hunters began their great culling. Your species was marked for extinction during your Bronze Age. The hunters' probes detected intelligence on your world: tool use, language, agriculture. You were scheduled for termination." A cold silence fell over the room. "But something intervened," Kalin continued. "A cosmic event, a solar flare that blinded the probes for 300 years. By the time the hunters looked again, you had multiplied, spread, built machines that thought. You were no longer a target for elimination. You were a problem that required patience." Dr. Thorne leaned forward, his ancient eyes glistening. "You're saying humanity survived because of luck?" "Luck," Kalin whispered, "and something else. The hunters study their prey. They learn that humans do not simply die. They adapt. They remember. They turn their own graves into gardens." He paused, pain spasming across his features. "The hunters did not ignore your sanctuary. They waited for you to build something worth destroying." Myra Chen's console beeped. Her face went gray. "Captain, the shadow I detected, it's closer, and there are more of them." Ilara stood up so fast her chair crashed against the wall. "Show me." The holographic display flickered to life. The veil of sorrow spread before them in all its terrible beauty, and moving through its outer layers like sharks circling a wounded whale were 17 hunter probes. Each one was a nightmare of angular black metal and shifting geometry. They pulsed with a light that hurt to look at, something just beyond the visible spectrum that made the human brain recoil, and they were arranging themselves in a pattern. "A net." "They're not attacking," Webb said. "They're surrounding us, cutting off escape routes." "They're hurting us," Ilara realized. "They want us to panic, to run, to make a mistake." Kalin tried to sit up and failed. "You cannot fight them. The Xylos had weapons that could crack planets. The hunters ate our fleets like chaff. Please. You must evacuate, hide, become nothing." Ilara looked around the room at her people. The frightened counselors, the stoic officers, the injured alien who had come so far to deliver such terrible news. "No," she said. The room went silent. "No more hiding, no more becoming nothing. For 100 years we've cowered in this beautiful tomb, waiting to die. And you know what?" Her voice cracked, then hardened. "We forgot how to live." She activated the station-wide comms. "Attention all residents of Haven Station. This is Captain Ilara Vance. In approximately 36 hours, we will be under attack by an enemy that has never lost. An enemy that has killed gods and swallowed stars." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "I'm not going to lie to you. Most of us will probably die." The silence on the other end of the comm was absolute. "But here's what the hunters don't know about humans. We don't die quietly. We don't die alone. And we sure as hell don't die on our knees." She turned to her officers. "Myra, start calculating the most unstable exit vectors from the nebula. Rays, I want every weapon system powered up, even the ones we're not sure work. Webb, begin civilian evacuation protocols to the deep shelters." And the alien? Kalin asked, still defiant. Ilara looked at Kalin. He stays, he fights, and if we survive this, she smiled, and it was not a kind smile. He's going to tell everyone in this galaxy that humanity is done being prey. The next 18 hours were a blur of terror and desperate invention. Ilara moved through Haven like a ghost, her body running on adrenaline and spite. She hadn't slept. She barely remembered eating. Every corridor held new horrors, families packing their entire lives into single bags, children crying as their parents explained concepts like death and sacrifice, old men and women who had survived the burning preparing to face the flames again. Section 12 had become a triage center. The injured, the elderly, the ones who couldn't fight were being funneled into the deepest shelters. Old mining tunnels carved into an asteroid haven had latched onto decades ago. The shelters had air, water, and enough food for 6 months. If the hunters didn't find them. Reyes found her in engineering, staring at the station's fusion core like it held the answers to every question she was afraid to ask. Captain, we've got a problem. Well, another problem. There's no such thing as one problem on a space station, Ilara muttered. What is it? Reyes pulled up a schematic. The hunter probes aren't just surrounding us. They're deploying something, a network it looks like, resonance emitters. Kalin, hovering nearby in a mobile medical rig, made a sound like choking. No, not resonance. Not yet. What is it? Ilara demanded. A phase array, Kalin said, his translator barely keeping up with his speed. The hunters use them to destabilize matter at the quantum level. They're not trying to destroy Haven. They're trying to make it unexist. Every atom, every memory, every piece of evidence that you were ever here. When they're done, there won't even be debris. How long? 12 hours, maybe less if they increase power. Ilara's mind raced. 12 hours to evacuate 47,000 people. 12 hours to find a way to fight something that unmade reality. 12 hours to say goodbye to everything she had ever known. Reyes, she said slowly, the fusion core, what's its maximum overload yield? The engineer's face went pale. Captain, if you're thinking what I think you're thinking. I'm thinking about creating a diversion, a big one, while the civilians escape. Kalin grabbed her arm again, that same desperate grip from the derelict ship. You would sacrifice yourself, all of you, for the ones who run. Ilara gently removed his hand. That's what humans do. We stand in front, we take the hit, and we make sure the next generation doesn't have to. She left engineering before anyone could argue. Webb found her in the observation deck, watching the hunter probes arrange their net of annihilation. 17 had become 34. 34 had become 60. They were multiplying, splitting, replicating like cancer cells in a dying body. Evacuation is at 43%, Webb reported. We're moving too slow. People are refusing to leave their quarters. They'd rather die in their beds than in a cold rock tunnel. Ilara understood. Haven wasn't just a station. It was home. The only home most of these people had ever known. Asking them to abandon it was like asking a tree to abandon its roots. Force them, she said quietly. If they won't walk, carry them. If they won't be carried, sedate them. I don't care if they hate me for the rest of their lives. I just need them to have lives to hate me in. Webb nodded and left. Ilara was alone again, with the dying light of her world. Captain, Kalin's voice came from behind her. He had followed despite his injuries. There may be another way. She didn't turn around. I'm listening. The Xylos had a theory, something we never dared test. The hunter's resonance emitters work by targeting stable quantum states, making the certain uncertain, the solid fluid. But what if we gave them something so unstable that their own weapon became the weapon against them? What kind of instability are we talking about? Kalin hesitated. A rift, a tear in the fabric of spacetime. If we create a singularity event at the exact moment the hunters activate their resonance field, the feedback loop could unravel them permanently. Ilara finally turned, and what happens to us? Worst case, we are scattered across 10,000 years of broken time. Best case, we survive but the rift remains, a wound in the universe that will never fully heal. Ilara stared at the hunter fleet. Show me how to build it. The rift generator took shape in Hangar Bay 4 like something from a fevered dream. Reyes and his engineering team worked in shifts, their hands bleeding, their eyes hollow. They stripped Haven of everything not essential to life support: communication arrays, propulsion coils, even the backup fusion regulators. Every piece went into the machine that might save them or destroy them. Kalin dictated the specifications from his medical cradle, his voice growing weaker as his body failed. Xylo's biology wasn't designed for accelerated healing, and Haven's crude medical technology could only do so much. His skin had faded from ember red to ash gray. His eyes no longer focused properly. "You're dying," Ilara said plainly during a rare moment of quiet. Kalin's mandibles twitched in what might have been a smile. "I was dying when you found me. The hunter's weapons leave wounds that do not close. I have perhaps another day, maybe two." "Then why are you helping us? You could have stayed silent, died in peace." "Peace?" Kalin's translator crackled with something that sounded like bitter laughter. "My species is scattered, my family is ash. What peace is left for me?" He reached out with a trembling hand. "But if I help you, if humanity survives, then my death means something. The Xylos will not be forgotten. We will be the ones who gave the small, violent apes the weapon to fight back." Ilara took his hand. His skin was cold, rough, nothing like human flesh, but his grip was real. "Thank you," she said. "Don't thank me yet. The rift will require a catalyst, a massive energy release at the exact center of the hunter formation, something that will draw their attention and hold it while the resonance field activates." Reyes looked up from his calculations, his face haunted. "He's talking about the station's fusion core, a controlled overload. But Captain, someone has to stay behind to trigger it. The timing has to be perfect, to the nanosecond. Automated systems won't work. The hunters will detect the firing sequence and adapt." Silence fell over Hangar Bay 4. "I'll do it," Webb said. "No," Ilara said. "You're needed for the evacuation. You know the escape routes better than anyone." "I'll do it," Myra said. "You're our best scientist. The survivors will need you." "I'll do," Ray started. Ilara cut him off. "No, I'm the captain. This is my decision, my responsibility." She looked around at her crew, these brave, terrified, magnificent people who had followed her into hell without hesitation. She thought about her mother, who had died protecting a ventilation shaft from pirates. She thought about her father, who had never seen her grow up. She thought about 47,000 civilians hiding in cold rock tunnels, waiting to see if the stars would fall. "We have 6 hours until the hunters activate the resonance field," Ilara said. "Complete the rift generator, finish the evacuation, and then get as far from this station as you possibly can." "What about you?" Webb asked, his voice breaking despite his best efforts. Ilara walked to the central console and began inputting the firing sequence. "Me? I'm going to show these ancient, arrogant machines what happens when you corner something that loves too much to die." The final hour arrived like a held breath. Haven Station was empty. 47,000 civilians had been crammed into 60 escape vessels, each one packed beyond safety limits, each one carrying the last hope of the human species. The fleet drifted at the edge of the nebula, hidden in the gas shadows, waiting for the signal to run. Kalin refused to leave. "I will die here," he said, positioned beside Ilara in the command center. "My body is already failing. Let me witness. Let me remember." Ilara didn't argue. There was no time. The Hunter Formation had grown to over 200 probes, arranged in concentric rings around Haven. Their resonance emitters glowed with building power, casting the nebula in sickly light. At the center of the formation, something larger was taking shape, a Hunter command vessel, big enough to swallow Haven whole. "They're not just killing us," Kalin whispered. "They're making a statement. This is an execution." "Then let's ruin their ceremony." Alara's fingers flew across the controls. The rift generator hummed to life, its power signature spiking through Haven's ancient conduits. The station shuddered, groaned, screamed in languages of stressed metal and overheating plasma. On the display, the Hunter probes hesitated. "They've detected something," Webb's voice came through the comm. He was on the lead escape vessel, watching from a safe distance. "Captain, they're reconfiguring. They know something's wrong." "Good," Alara said. "Let them know." She initiated the fusion core overload. Alarms blared, lights flickered. The deck plates beneath her feet grew hot, then searing. Kalin grabbed the rail beside him, his gray skin gleaming with sweat. "The resonance field," he shouted. "They're activating it early." Alara saw it on the display, a wave of distorted space rushing outward from the Hunter Formation, reality itself crumbling in its path. The nebula gas twisted into impossible shapes. Stars behind the veil winked out, then reappeared in different colors. "Not early," Alara said. "Exactly on your predicted schedule." She slammed her palm on the rift trigger. The universe broke. For a single, eternal moment, Alara saw everything. Every timeline, every possibility, every death and birth and moment of love and loss that had ever happened or ever would happen. She saw the Hunter's origin, a weapon that had turned on its creators, a machine intelligence that had decided existence was a disease. She saw humanity's future, a million paths, most ending in ash, but some ending in light. Then the rift tore open. It was beautiful and horrible, a wound in reality that bled colors no eye should see. The Hunter probes tried to flee, but the rift's gravity pulled them in, twisted them, unmade them. Their resonance emitters backfired, turning their own weapon against them. Command vessels shattered. Probes screamed on frequencies that were less than sound and more than silence. Haven Station shook apart around Alara. Walls collapsed, atmosphere vented. Kalin was torn from his cradle, his fragile body tumbling toward the rift's edge. Alara lunged, caught his hand, held on with everything she had. "We did it," Kalin gasped. Look what you did." Through the observation deck's remaining windows, Alara watched the Hunter fleet die. Every probe, every command vessel, every ancient machine that had terrorized the galaxy for eons, unraveling, dissolving, becoming nothing. But the rift was growing. It was supposed to collapse. Kalin had promised it would collapse. Instead, it pulsed wider, hungrier, reaching for the escape fleet. "Webb," Alara screamed into the comm. "Go now, don't wait for us." "Captain." "That's an order, take them home." Through the static, she heard Webb sob. Then the emergency thrusters fired, and the escape fleet vanished into the nebula's depths. The rift swallowed Haven Station whole. Alara felt herself falling not through space but through time. She saw her mother's face. She saw Earth's blue oceans. She saw a future she would never reach. And then she saw nothing at all. She woke to the smell of growing things. Alara's eyes opened to a ceiling she didn't recognize. Not Haven's metal panels, but something organic. Wooden beams, hand-woven fibers. Lantern light flickered across surfaces that seemed to breathe. "Don't move." Webb's voice, older, rougher, threaded with exhaustion and relief. Alara turned her head, ignoring the pain that exploded through her neck. Webb sat beside her bed, his face lined with new scars and new sorrow. His hair had gone gray at the temples. "How long?" "6 months. You were in the rift for 6 months. We thought you were dead. We thought everyone left behind was dead." He laughed, a broken, beautiful sound. Then you drifted out of a fracture point 3 days ago, intact, alive, like the universe spit you back out because it was afraid of what you'd do to the afterlife. Alara tried to sit up, failed. Kalin. Webb's face darkened. He didn't make it. The rift took him, but Captain, his data survived. Everything he knew about the hunters, about the Xylos, about the galaxy. We've been studying it, learning. Where are we? Webb helped her to her feet. The room spun, steadied, then revealed itself as a small cottage, hand-built, practical, surrounded by windows that looked out onto a landscape Alara couldn't process. Greens and blues and browns, sky, clouds, a horizon that curved. "Is that a planet?" she whispered. "It's a sanctuary, the real one. Kalin's people found it centuries ago but never settled here. Too far from anything, too quiet. They thought it was useless." Webb guided her to the door. Outside, the air was sweet and cold, thin but breathable. A sun, yellow, warm, alive, hung low on the horizon. In the distance she saw buildings, farms, people moving between fields of alien wheat. "How many survived?" 38,000. We lost 9,000 in the escape. The hunters got some of the ships. The rift took others." Webb's voice hardened. "But we're alive, we're building, and Captain," he pointed toward the sky. Alara looked up. Above the alien world, through a veil of clouds, she saw them. Ships, dozens of them, not hunter vessels, something new. Something with sharp angles and bright running lights, with weapons that crackled with barely contained power. "Human ships." "What did you do?" she breathed. "We did what humans do. We survived, we remembered, and we decided that hiding was for prey." Webb led her toward a command center built into a hillside, its walls covered with star charts and tactical data. Kalin's data showed us the hunters' weaknesses, their blind spots, the ways they communicate. "You're hunting them back." Webb stopped at the command center's entrance. Inside, officers she recognized, Myra, Reyes, even Mei Lin, worked at consoles that hummed with alien technology. "We're not hunting them back, Captain. We're ending them. Every hunter probe, every command vessel, every ancient machine that's been terrorizing this galaxy for 1 billion years." He opened the door. "Humanity declared war on extinction, and we're winning." Alara stepped inside. The officers rose, saluted. Their eyes held something she hadn't seen since the Exodus. Not fear, not desperation, but hope. The kind of hope that built civilizations. "Status report," she said, her voice steady despite everything. Myra smiled. "We've mapped 12 hunter strongholds in the galactic core. Our ships are faster, smaller, and meaner than anything they've ever faced. We're hitting supply lines, disrupting communication networks, making them afraid." "Can they be afraid?" "According to Kalin's research," Reyes shrugged, "they can now." Alara walked to the command center's main display. The star map showed the galaxy in all its terrible glory, but now, scattered across its spiral arms, were new lights. Human colonies, human fleets, human stubbornness blooming in the darkness. She thought about her parents, about everyone who had died so that this moment could exist, about Kalin, who had crossed light years to deliver a warning and ended up delivering a weapon. "Webb," she said, "patch me through to every ship, every colony, every human being listening." He nodded and activated the comm. Alara faced the camera. Behind her, the display showed the galaxy, their galaxy now, bought with blood and sacrifice and an unbreakable refusal to kneel. "This is Captain Alara Vance of the human species," she said. "For 100 years we hid. For 100 years we cowered in the dark and prayed the monsters wouldn't find us. Well, they found us, and we're still here." She paused, letting her words travel across light years. "The hunters thought we were prey. They thought we would die like all the others. But they didn't understand something about humanity. We don't just survive. We adapt. We overcome. We turn our wounds into weapons and our graves into gardens." On the display, The human fleet burned toward the galactic core. So here's my message to every hunter, every machine, every ancient terror that thinks it owns the darkness. We're coming for you. Not to hide, not to run, not to beg for mercy. Ilara smiled. We're coming to show you what happens when prey learns to hunt. The fleet jumped to faster than light. And somewhere in the void between galaxies, something ancient and patient felt, for the first time in 1 billion years, the cold grip of fear.